Welcome to the Life Coach Lounge. I'm Angela.
I'm Lisa.
I'm Emily. We're three life coaches who found connection in faith, friendship, and purpose.
Get ready for real talk, relatable stories, and practical tips you can actually use.
We're so happy you're here at the Life Coach Lounge.
Welcome back to the Life Coach Lounge. Hi, Angela. Hi, Lisa. It's always so good to see your faces. To our regular listeners, welcome back. If this is your first time hanging out with us in the lounge, we just give you a big, warm welcome, and we're so thankful that you've found us here. Today's topic is perfectionism. It's that sneaky little lie that might tell you that you're only lovable or valuable if you get it, quote unquote, just right. It's a constant pressure, maybe, that we put on ourselves or on others, that we have to keep it all together, have it all together, say the right things, be the best mom, best wife, best friend, best leader. And it can lead to exhaustion. And it's kind of ironic, actually, that this is take two here in the Life Coach Lounge of this topic. We recorded an episode already about this very topic, perfectionism. And while it's relatable, it turns out it's not the easiest thing to really pin down and talk about. So, this is our second attempt at that conversation, and we're glad that you're here with us. We're just going to have a little chit chat, just the three of us, about what perfectionism is, maybe what it's not, and explore some practical ways for us to overcome it. That's the goal. If we realize that we are behaving in a way or showing up in a way that is not useful to us or those around us, we can always explore ways to change. So let's start with a little bit of confession time here, ladies. If you were to have a perfectionist kryptonite or a pet peeve, something that kind of drives you crazy when it comes to the idea of perfectionism, what would that be?
Do we have to say just one? Okay, several that come to my mind. People who chew with their mouth open. Please don't do that ever. That is a no. I drilled that into my kids when they were home. Yeah, chew with your mouth closed. Put your lips together, I would always say. And then I like things to be orderly. The pillows on the sofa to be fluffed and put in the right spot. The spot I've determined is the right spot. I like, the blankets to be folded, things in the kitchen to be picked up. I just like to have an orderly home. And so when things don't look quite right, it's unsettling to me. So that is definitely a pet peeve.
Those are all very, very relatable.
Yeah, totally relatable. I'm going to piggyback off of Angela's with the orderly terminology because I like things in their place. But even like in a drawer or a cupboard, or if you take the scissors out of the drawer in the kitchen, all you lounge listeners out there know exactly what I'm talking about. Somebody in your family takes the thing out of the drawer and then you go to get the thing and you're like, what, where? And either one, it wasn't put away, or two, it's put away in some random other place that then you still have to go and find it. So that's one. Two, I don't know if this is really a thing, but clean surface magnetism is definitely a kryptonite for me. Or again, I'm going to use the kitchen. You have a kitchen table, you clean it off maybe multiple times a day. And then other people see that the surface is clean and available for more objects. And I'm like, what? Is that like a science? Like there's like like a magnetic something or other that just, do people get alerts? Like, this surface is available for all your stuff. Yeah, those two things would be my kryptonite.
So relatable. Yes, a place for everything and everything in its place. Like you were talking about
Amen.
the scissors. If you go find it and it's not there, then you're right. You're like, why is it not there? Like losing something for me, I rarely lose things or misplace things. Like my keys are always in my purse. My purse is always, well, in one of three spots in the house. Things just have a home. And when they don't get back to their home, it can be frustrating when you're the next person to go to said home and the thing is not there. So definitely. Another thing for me, and I don't know if it's because I'm a homeschool mom, I was trying to think. It ramped up when I did homeschooling, but I think it's always been sort of a thing for me is typos and grammar errors. And I really try hard not to judge other people when I see if they put out content or like if a book gets through the editing process and there's a typo or a grammar error. But when I produce something or put something out there, an email, a text, some kind of content, and I notice that I missed something, not spelled correctly or grammatically wrong, it kind of drives me crazy.
You're gonna need to tell me when I put content out there. This is grammar.
Only if you ask. I don't want to be that person that is always like, oh, you spelled that wrong.
She's
No,
asking.
that I 100% know that there are times when I put content out on social media, and I'm not going to say I don't care, because I wouldn't be posting things if I didn't care. I only share things that I find of value and want to help and serve others. But I know for sure that I put things out there where I'm like, oh, let me add in an extra comma, or let me make this a fragmented sentence, or yeah, or maybe autocorrect filled in something that I'm like, I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, you have to double check everything with autocorrect. I'm sure that drives you crazy, Emily.
Yes, I try not to let it. That's why I reread the text or the email before I send it to make sure that some autocorrect didn't change my message altogether. So, yeah, we could probably talk about the list of these pet peeves, perfectionist annoyances all day, but we're going to move on. My question, first question for both of you, and I'm going to ask Lisa to get us started here. My first question is, would you consider yourself to be a perfectionist? And the reason I'm asking Lisa is because it's come up several times in our conversations, either here on the podcast or as we keep in touch with each other over the Marco Polo app, where you have mentioned as a recovering perfectionist, and then you'll tell us something. So, can you tell us more about that, Lisa?
Yes, I do tend to have an unhealthy leaning perfectionism trait. And so the reason I will say that I'm a recovering perfectionist is because the more work I have done with mindset, being coached myself, for sure, being certified in coaching, I recognize now that there is a healthy way to present this personality trait, and then there are definitely unhealthy ways in which this personality trait can present itself. So when I say I'm a recovering perfectionist, it tends to be more my vulnerable self admitting that for years I leaned more on the unhealthy side of that trait, for sure.
That is so good. I think labeling yourself a perfectionist or someone else a perfectionist often has that negative connotation. So I really like that you said this trait can show up in healthy ways and in unhealthy ways. And I think that's the goal is to recognize when it's showing up in an unhealthy way. I love that. I can definitely resonate with that. So I guess based on what you just said, I would like to join the club of the recovering perfectionists because I think that that perfectly defined me. As I've done more work, also, I realize how I have been living in a very unhealthy way with some of those traits. And I can also see that how I see the world from that lens of order and wanting things to be in their place actually serves me well sometimes too. So it can be a positive as well. Angela, how does that question resonate with you? Do you consider yourself to be a perfectionist?
Well, when you first brought up this topic, I was like, no way, I'm not a perfectionist. No, I'll have nothing to talk about there. And then I started to think of more examples. And I think where I landed with it is an image that you're trying to put forth in the world. Maybe a lack of vulnerability, a lack of humility, even. And then I was like, okay, yeah, guilty. I definitely have, like you said, gone in and out of that and recovering for sure. I think there are many layers to perfectionism. I think we're going to talk about some of the nuances of that today. But yes, I'm right there. I'm in the pool with you girls for sure.
We are in good company with one another. So when we even think about what does it even mean? What does perfectionism, that word, this trait, what does it even mean? And one of the first things that comes up for me is there's a standard. Somewhere along the line, I decided for myself or for other people that there was a standard, or even that society at large, the world I live in, has a standard for me. But again, it's something that I came up with in my own mind that there's a standard that I need to meet. And if I meet that standard, then I will feel accomplished, approved, seen, valued, lovable, fill in the blank. And so for me, the idea of standard helps me define sort of what perfectionism is. And then I see also that that could be individual for each person because all of our standards are different. My level of what I say is a standard of excellence may be way different from either of your standards of excellence. And so do you guys have anything to add to that? Or did you look up the definition perhaps, Lisa, our dictionary queen? Did you look up any definitions or synonyms as you like to do for us?
Yeah, you're right. I do like to do that. I did not do that, but what I did do was read a few articles when it comes to the psychology of the word perfectionism. And something that really resonated with me is when you have like this idea, right? Like you have this idea of something that's quote unquote new and improved. So you have this idea in your head, and then you also have like real life right here in your lap. And then for what resonated for me is a perfectionist will want to bridge the gap between those two things. And this is where the healthy or the unhealthy way of doing so can come in because like you said, Emily, then you kind of set yourself up. Like if you have a standard that's so high or not measurable, not sustainable, then you're trying to bridge this gap and it's not working. And so then that self criticism, that judgment comes in. So that was super interesting to me to like kind of read it in that kind of way to recognize yet again what I just said earlier. Like, I continue to have work to do when it comes to this trait. And it's not, perfectionism itself is actually not a bad thing. It can serve you pretty well. But I think that unfortunately it gets thrown around as something that's negative. Oh, you're such a perfectionist. But it's not, it's said that way, not, oh my gosh, you are such a perfectionist. I'm so glad that you, it's said more with angst.
Yeah, you're right. Kind of like a label
Mm-hmm.
that's thrown around, and like OCD is also thrown around. Or you're you're so OCD, you're such a perfectionist. And obviously OCD is a diagnosable mental health disorder. So way different. Even using that as a label is not even accurate. And perfectionism, you're right, kind of goes along with that as a negative label to throw around, or even to call ourselves that in a degrading sort of way.
I think with perfectionism, there's an undercurrent. When you talk about the negative side of it, there's an undercurrent of fear of man. And, what comes up for me when I think of that is like a Pharisee almost. Like I'm doing everything right, I'm checking all the boxes, but my heart isn't actually following Jesus. Versus being a follower of Christ, I'm doing my best, knowing I'm not perfect, I'm going to get it wrong. My heart is in the right place. It's very different undercurrent, one versus the other, of checking all the boxes, making sure everyone can see what I'm doing, versus having the heart posture that is a more humble heart posture. I think humility versus pride is kind of where I would land with that.
Yeah, that's such a great point, because if you're more of like a Pharisee, then you're depending on your own strength, your own standard of excellence. You have this false perception that you are perfect, that you are meeting that standard of perfection, when nobody was perfect except for Jesus, right? Like God meets us in our mess. He like actually, his word says, even, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. So actually, God uses our weaknesses and doesn't expect us to be perfect.
Thank goodness.
He knew we wouldn't be able to meet that standard of perfection, which is why he gave us Jesus, which is a conversation for another day. If you don't know what that's like to trust in Jesus, we'd love to have a conversation with you about that. But yeah, the point is, God meets us in our imperfections and says, yeah, actually, you can't be perfect. So I'm here for you. You can rely on my strength. I will give you grace when you fall. I will help you see how I'm working all of this out for your good. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you that you even use my imperfections to carry out your perfect plan. So, I mean, we could just close the podcast right here because that word was the truth, right? So, but we have a couple more things to talk about here. Let's talk about perfectionism. How can we tell if it's showing up as perfectionism in our life, this standard, maybe unrealistic standard of excellence? Or if it's just we have a personality that prefers things to be neat and tidy, that we desire to do things well and have a standard of excellence, but not an unrealistic one. How can we tell? Like, what's at the root of identifying if it's perfectionism?
You mean the whether it's leaning more one way or the other? Is that what you're asking? Because I think you're saying like God meets us in the mess. He's meeting us right where we are. And let's be honest, a lot of times, more often than not, it's messy. It's kind of supposed to be. Like that's how we move forward in life, right?
That kitchen counter is
Yeah.
not meant to stay like completely clean all the time because you have people
Oh,
living in your
Emily, come
house.
on now.
I know, I'm shattering your whole idea here of like the needing that
Oh,
to be clean. And then the only reason I'm saying this is because I'm saying it to myself too. If your house was a museum, then that counter should stay clean and no dust and no objects covering it because it's a museum.
right,
But you have people living at your house. And so it gets messy as it is intended to.
right.
So sorry for the interruption. Carry
That's
on.
okay. I was just saying, like, so he's meeting us right where we are in our mess. And it feels more uncomfortable in your body. I'll speak for myself. It feels more uncomfortable in my body when I connect it to a performance. So here I am in my messy life doing things that I, again, go back to, I have this idea of how it's going to be. And so I'm working towards achieving that idea, but it's more about the performance and less about the process, if that makes sense. And so to make it feel more authentic in my body, it's more about, it's not fake. It's, like I said, it's authentic, it's real. I'm not looking for that, oh, good girl, you're doing such a great job. I was a director for a child care center for a number of years. And one of the things I would often tell staff that I did not want to hear was the label of good girl, good boy. I don't want to hear it because it's not, it's coming from a place of false. It's not true. When you put a label on it, maybe their actions of something they did was not something that was ideal or what you wanted them to do, but doesn't make them good and or bad. And so when we are just constantly seeking out that performance piece and not coming from a place of vulnerability and openness to receive God's intention, love from others, curiosity, again, for me, that's where I get hung up as soon as there's like a performance piece in there. And I think Angela mentioned earlier, like when you're checking the boxes, right? Like if I do this, then this person will be happy, or I will get this bonus, or this will happen. Like all those boxes get checked.
Yeah, that's so good. We talk a lot in coaching about false self and true self as well. So, just a little overview of that. The true self is rooted in love. That false self is rooted in fear, very much like what you were just saying. You care about your ego. You care about what other people think of you. You're very self conscious. You want to hide any insecurities or, quote, imperfections, that lack of vulnerability that you were saying. And so, anytime that is showing up, I think we can pause and wonder, is this perfectionism? Is this performance based? Is this rooted in fear? Fear of what? Fear of failure, fear of rejection. And then again, the true self is rooted in love. And the true self is vulnerable and open and willing to do the thing, and it might not be quote unquote perfect, and it's going to be okay anyway. So that's another thing, just as coaches, some of the education that we've had on false self and true self and what's at the root of your behaviors, I think helps to identify if you're just showing up as someone that likes things neat and tidy, or is there something deeper behind that?
And for me, it definitely was comparison and people pleasing. What are others going to say, think, do based on what I've done, said? Yeah.
And how do I measure up, right? Like comparing myself to other people.
Yeah.
So, what are some other ways? We just talked about how, practically speaking, how perfectionism can show up. What did we say? People pleasing, worrying about what other people think, comparing. Angela, what are some other ways that you can think of that perfectionism might show up?
Not that I've ever done this, but procrastination. Hello. If I don't get it right, if I don't get it perfect, if I don't think I have, the right offer, if I can't be helpful, I mean, all the things that our brains offer us, right? To block us and cause us to just scroll instead of put something out there to help someone and procrastinate. I think Perfectionism and procrastination almost always go hand in hand because like you said, it's fear-based. We are afraid. We're afraid of judgment, or we're afraid of messing it up, not doing it right, not doing it perfectly. And so procrastination, I think, is a big one for me. That's where I see it in my life for sure.
Definitely. We have said before here when it comes to procrastination, as far as posting on social media or putting content out there or writing a newsletter, we, well, me, I will speak for myself. I feel that I have always held myself to the standard of A or A plus work. Like, work on it until it's good enough, quote unquote, good enough. What does that even mean? And so both of you have challenged me to say, actually, B minus work is okay too, or even C plus.
It means go over to Lisa Gates's post because
That's not true.
they're B
You are the
minus.
queen at posting, and mine is like crickets because I'm getting over that. As far as social media goes, it's a foreign thing. It's new. It's hard. And all of these things my brain is offering me, and at the root of it, it's, well, maybe it's not good enough. I mean, back in school, I was an A, B honor roll. And so I was used to getting good grades. And through college too, I got 1C, you guys, in college. So I'm used to like this high standard. And so you have to sort of unlearn. And it doesn't mean I want to embrace being lazy or embrace just,
Right.
you know, not putting forth the effort. But I had to realize the effort I was putting forth was showing up as procrastination, people pleasing, comparing, overthinking. I have mentioned that a couple of different times here in the podcast. I overthink. So catching that and just getting off the crazy train of overthinking it and just do the thing. Because I'm missing out on so much of life when those traits are holding me back.
I've heard it said that people pleasing is lying. And I really had to think about that because essentially you are saying yes to things that you don't want to do, or you are allowing things that you're not speaking up about. And it almost always leads to resentment. So that is a clue for everyone. If you are feeling resentment in a relationship or somewhere in your life, ask yourself if your yes is yes and your no is no. Ask yourself if you're being truthful with the people around you. And we like to mask it with things like, well, I don't want to hurt their feelings. So, I'll just do it. Or I like it better my way, so I'll just do it. Or I can do it faster. But then there's that resentment that comes in. So pay attention to that.
Yeah. I also think it can show up in I just won't do anything because in my brain, I can't do the thing that feels authentic and vulnerable because it might not please the people. So I just won't do it.
So it'll paralyze you from taking any action.
Yeah.
Or almost like defiance. It feels like, no, I'm going to do nothing.
Yeah. Boy, this could be a whole podcast episode on people pleasing.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah,
That's so
good.
interesting too. We were just saying, like, so it could make you not take any action, sort of in that defiant, paralyzing way. And perfectionism can also show up in the overachieving. I'm going to do all the things to get all the accolades to show myself and everybody what I can accomplish. There's just such extremes there. So it's so good to check in. Why are you saying yes to this? Why are you doing whatever it is that you're doing? What's at the heart of it? So, we said at the beginning that there are ways that we can explore how to overcome some of these false self, procrastination, perfectionism type traits when they come up. And I think that the most important thing to realize is that this has to shift from that rigid self-critical thinking or these extremes where you're talking about to more flexible, compassionate, and realistic. I think having realistic goals, standards, expectations can be key. So I just picked 3 common mindsets that someone might have when they are facing perfectionism. So let's just brainstorm maybe ways to reframe these 3 phrases. So the first one is, I must do it perfectly. And it can be anything, fill in the blank. I must do it perfectly. What could we say instead to reframe that?
Well, you could say something like, I'm learning to do whatever it is, any type of way of allowing your brain to recognize that it is the process again, not the performance piece. So I'm learning, I'm working on. And if you have measurable actions, because it happens to be something that is actually measurable, then you could add that piece in as well. Yeah, just that little shift without having to change the whole sentence could help.
Right. And I don't know if it was one of you that said it. I feel like it was one of you. Maybe Lisa, you said done is better than perfect. So to spin in it has to be perfect before I can consider it done. It's like, well, no, actually, done is better if you're working on a task. Just get it done. That's where that B minus or C plus work comes in. Done is better than perfect.
I saw an interview one time with a one of the makers of Pixar films, and they said every single Pixar film is released unfinished. And they were like, "What do you mean?" And he said, "We can keep honing it and perfecting it and changing it forever. So we just tell ourselves every single film will be released unfinished." And I thought that is so good. And it makes you wonder, like, what would they have changed, you know? But I just love that they discovered that about themselves. We just have to put it out.
Well, we discovered that with ourselves here in the Life Coach Lounge, didn't we, ladies? Back in March or April, whenever our first, was it May that well, we first started recording, I think in April, and then we released them starting in May, and we didn't know what we were doing. We could have gone back and edited and re-recorded and all of the things, and we didn't, and here we are. It's been a good growth journey for me, and I'm super proud of what we've done.
Me too.
How about mistakes are failures? What if we look at mistakes as being failures as it relates to perfectionism?
I think a lot of times that gets shifted into I am a failure when you adopt that. But if you look at, what's the saying? The road to success is paved with failure. So every quote unquote failure or mistake is one step forward. It's data that tells you this worked or didn't work. And you keep moving toward it or through it, you will get to your goal. So, yeah, and be very careful with the identity statements. I am a failure or anything like that, which again could be a whole episode.
I used to tell my kids all the time, failing forward is actually a good thing for
So
the
good.
reasons you just described, Angela.
And look at mistakes as instead of assigning whether it was like good or bad, see it as neutral. It's just information. How it's just information that I can gather. For example, putting something out on social media and getting nobody to respond or like it doesn't mean it failed. It's just information. It just means maybe people weren't on to see it. Maybe the algorithm hid it from everybody. Maybe it wasn't something that resonated. It's just information. It doesn't mean you should quit or that, like Angela said, it certainly doesn't mean that you are a failure. I love that you hit on that identity piece. We don't ever want to turn it into our identity. And then I think releasing the need to control the outcome of situations. That's a difficult one. I think control is definitely at the root of perfectionism. Releasing the need to control the outcome. Doing something, putting it out there, putting your best effort towards it, and whatever the outcome is, okay, I trust God can use that too, and however He wants. Okay, the last one is if I'm not the best, I'm not good enough.
That one still stinks. I have a lot of work to do, ladies, as you know, from all the Marcos on my life sentence of
Hmm.
self worth. So, yeah, like just you reading that out loud, I totally feel that. It's like, "Ugh," right there. I'm like, yep. And then my brain immediately, because I'm training it to be like, actually, no. Actually, like Angela said earlier, actually, that's a lie.
Yeah, catch it. Just
Yeah.
catch it right away.
Oh my
Hmm.
gosh, but it's hard work. So valuable though. Like,
It is hard work.
yeah, it
And what
it's
does good enough even mean? Like reading
yeah,
that again, if I'm
exactly.
not the best, I'm not good enough. Well, what does good enough mean and how much does that standard change? So if I reach a good enough standard, will it all of a sudden, the goal and like change, like the goalpost keeps moving? Well, so then good enough is like the next level. Like what does good enough even mean? So being curious when those lies come in, recognizing it and then asking, what does that even mean? And just recognizing like we're still learning. That's what life is. It's one big opportunity to learn and grow and release
Fail
control,
forward.
fail forward,
Fail forward.
surrender,
Yep. We'll
surrender.
get back up.
Yes.
Hmm.
This has been a great discussion today, friends. I just want to leave you with a few other questions, maybe to reflect upon. When you notice perfectionism showing up, you could ask yourself, what would I say to a friend in this situation? So sometimes taking yourself, getting perspective outside of what you're feeling and imagining your friend is having those thoughts or that struggle. Like, what would you say to a friend? Maybe shifts the perspective a little bit. Asking, is this belief or this thought helping me or hurting me right now? How do I feel when I'm stuck in this perfectionism mindset activity? And what's the worst that could happen? If this doesn't work out, or if this quote unquote fails, what's the worst that could happen? And could I handle that? Final thoughts. If you could tell your younger perfectionist self one thing, what would it be?
Is it too much to say hire a coach when you're in your 20s?
Hire a
Oh
coach.
my gosh.
Amen.
Hire someone. Find a way to help yourself get out of your head, because there are so many things that we have all gone through in our lives, and anyone listening I'm sure can relate. It doesn't have to be even perfectionism. Like, you just relate to different things that you've gone through. Your intuition is like, this doesn't feel right, and then you don't know what to do with it, or you just bury it. So it's beneficial. It's so beneficial. And the work that can be done with hiring a coach can be, you can see it happen relatively quickly, and it's long lasting. So that's my answer. After all the things I shared today and the growth that I have personally had, that's my answer.
I love it. I love it. And this kind of goes with your answer. I was going to say to tell my younger self, now that I've lived the amount of years that I have, to encourage my younger perfectionist self, just relax. God's going to use all of this to grow you and shape you. Like, you don't have to try and figure all this out to your own standards. Just do your best, and God's going to use all of it. And a coach can help you see that. A coach can help you look back on your life and maybe times of regret or what you think was failure, to help you see it and reframe it and see, but how was that also something that grew you and changed you and was for your good? Angela, did you have anything to add?
For my younger self, I think I would say fear of man is a trap. And if you knew that you were walking into a trap, you would not go there. So, like you said, relax, be yourself, focus on serving God and others, and don't try to be someone you're not.
So good. Thank you for the conversation today, my friends. We truly appreciate every time you take time to listen, and we love hearing from you. So keep the feedback coming. We truly appreciate every direct message, text message, email. You can connect with us on Instagram at the Life Coach Lounge or reach out to us individually. All of our links are in the show notes, including links to hire us. If you're looking for a one-on-one coach, we would love to have a free consultation call with you to see if that's something that could benefit you where you are at right now. We release episodes every Tuesday, and you can find us everywhere that podcasts are released. If you like what we have to say, would you please consider subscribing, rating, and maybe writing a review? The more people that rate it and review it, the more people find us, so that we can be an encouragement to them as well. So until next time, we are so grateful to walk alongside you on this adventure of life, one step at a time. And Lisa and Angela, I look forward to hanging out with you two in the Marcos later today.